that he just bullies people. He's faster than them, and then he just outreaches them essentially.
You want to hear Giannis's like stat lines over the last 7 games?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going from June 10th against Brooklyn.
Okay.
33 and 14, 34 and 12, 34 and 12 again, 30 and 17, 40 and 13, 34 and 12, and 28 and 9. So
let me put you on game.
let's talk about the Bucks and the Hawks and what's going on in that series. The stark difference between game 1 and game 2 is, is absolutely insane. But I think the biggest difference for me was just the way that they played Trae Young. Like they pointed it out on the TNT broadcast. It's been, ballyhooed, from the whole time between game 1 and game 2. But the reason that Trae Young had 48 points is because of his talent and his ability to control the game from playmaking and from a scoring standpoint, but also Milwaukee employing a drop coverage. Like if you set a screen and Brook Lopez is below the free throw line on defense, like it leaves Drew Holiday on this island where he's essentially helpless. So that's where Trae is going to be able to get into the lane. And he has this amazing ability to where you can't tell the difference between his floater and between him throwing a lob.
Yeah.
So
and that floater is money.
And the lob is money. So it's like if you and as a defense, like if both of those plays look exactly the same, like as a defense, what are you supposed to do? Like it's just a guessing game. It's like a goalie on a penalty kick. Like you got to kind of try to read the body language and just dive left or right. Like there's not really much you can do. So like with that play, it's just like you just got to figure something out. You have to figure out. But like in game 2, you kind of saw Milwaukee not let him get there. Because once he gets there, he's going to do so much damage to your team because that, like you said, that floater is money. He has Capella or John Collins for lobs. So it's like once he's in the middle of the floor, in that right below the free throw line area, he's so dangerous. So what they did was they rushed him, they blitzed him on pick and rolls, and they also forced him to take long threes. And as much as like he gets the Steph Curry comparisons, he's not as good of a shooter as Steph. So that's something you couldn't do with Steph. You're not daring Steph to shoot. So it's like with Trae, like he's going to adjust. He's a great player. But that I think was the biggest difference is how they played Trae Young. They played him how they should have played him. If they would have adjusted earlier in game 1, they would be up 2-0.
Yeah.
But they
because
weren't.
It was a close game.
It was.
Game one was a close game, and game 1 kind of showed how Atlanta has been able to beat all these teams and win so many games in these playoffs. It's because down the stretch, Atlanta knows who they are. They know how to get it to the guy that can do the most with the ball, and they make free throws in the clutch.
Yeah.
And between savvy defense, strong fourth quarters, and just smart possessions, when the game is close, Atlanta finds a way to win consistently throughout these whole playoffs. When teams like Philadelphia have fallen apart tremendously in the fourth quarters, Atlanta has shined and just has been rock solid, consistent with being able to find good quality shots and make buckets, timely buckets. And it was very apparent that that's how they won game 1. But what I did notice from Milwaukee was that Atlanta had no answer whatsoever for Drew Holiday and Giannis. They got wherever they wanted in the court, and they made as many shots as they wanted. I think Holiday is shooting like upwards of 40% from 3 right now, and he's getting to the line, and he's getting to the rim at will, getting wherever he wants on the floor. Giannis has just showed tremendous. His finger roll ability is just out of this world. Like just some of the plays that he's able to make. He has so much length and he covers so much ground, and he's so strong that he just bullies people. He's faster than them, and then he just outreaches them. essentially.
You want to hear Giannis's like stat lines over the last 7 games?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going from June 10th against Brooklyn.
Okay.
33 and 14, 34 and 12, 34 and 12 again, 30 and 17, 40 and 13, 34 and 12, and 28 and 9. So
and that was in a
as much
blowout.
as yeah, and he didn't play, yeah, he barely, like, he didn't play his full amount of minutes. So as much as they've been talking about how bad, his free throw shooting has been, like, he's been dominant in the playoffs. The only issue with Giannis, like, and they talk about it a lot, is just he's just settling too much. Like,
Yeah.
he just has to realize that if it's not like a supreme level defender like Bam Adebayo in front of him, like,
Hmm.
he can do anything he wants against anyone.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really matter. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's been incredible. So with Milwaukee, as long as they don't continue to play drop coverage, as long as they're able to figure out how to navigate like pick and rolls with Trae Young, it'll make a huge difference, because with Trae Young, he's a great player. Like I said, he'll adjust, but to go from 48 and 11 in game 1 to 15 points on 6 of 16 shooting and 9 turnovers in game 2, it's a huge difference between how he was being played. And
Yeah.
again, Trae Young, I've been a little bit critical of him during this podcast and at other times, but he's been the best player in every series that he's played in thus far,
Yeah, man.
unquestionably. So
Yeah.
it's going to be on him to adjust, which he has done, because he's gone up against, and it's not like he's had easy matchups. Like, he's gone, especially in the Philly series, he's gone up against two of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA and still did work. He had some rough shooting nights, but he, like, overall was still a really great player. And
Yeah.
for Atlanta, like, but they've got to be taken seriously as a team. I think that we've spent each and every series as I don't know, a sports journalistic collective, basically analyzing what's wrong with the teams that they're beating and what's wrong
Mm.
with the other team when the other team loses to them. But maybe we just have to realize that they are just that good of a team. Especially
Yeah.
if you look at their records have been amazing since Nate McMillan took over, and they're just a legit team. They have so many weapons. So I still have Milwaukee in 6, but I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. It remains to be seen. Middleton had was probably the biggest reason that they one of the second biggest reason they lost game 1, because he was 6 of 23,
Yeah,
which was like just awful. And him just having a sub 40-50% shooting night amidst the blowout, and him just being a reliable option in that game was a huge difference, along with the defensive adjustments that Milwaukee made, and Giannis and Drew continuing to just get wherever they want on the floor. So I have actually a lot of confidence in Milwaukee to be able to win this series, just because of the fact that there's nothing that Atlanta can do. But I said the same thing with as far as Joel Embiid in the last series.
yeah,
It's just that I think the difference between Milwaukee and Philadelphia is just ultimately better, more dynamic offensive options, and
yeah.
having guys like Drew Holiday, who I'm really confused, and I can't wait to see what Nate McMillan draws up to kind of slow him down, because I don't think at Milwaukee is going to be as dynamic if Holiday has a bad shooting night. And so that's where the series could maybe take a shift, and maybe that's where adjustments can be made. But as well as the physicality of Milwaukee, they're able to get up in Atlanta's face and ensure that they don't get to their spot. So if the issue is that we've seen in these playoffs, especially with Atlanta, is that we feel that the teams that they've beaten could have beaten them had those teams played up to their potential, You look at
Mhm.
Philadelphia and you feel like, you know what, they didn't play up to their potential. That's why we're kind of giving the nod, or we're saying that those teams didn't do enough to win, as opposed to Atlanta doing everything that they could to beat them. And so I just feel the same way about Milwaukee. I feel like Milwaukee has everything that they need to beat Atlanta. It's just which Milwaukee is going to show up, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant when I said earlier in the pod when they're one of the most frustrating teams because it shouldn't have taken 7 games to beat that Brooklyn team. As
Yeah.
talented as KD is, like they were going up against James Harden on one leg and Kyrie was out for most of the series. So it shouldn't have been the series that it was. But hopefully guys like Giannis are learning as they go along and advancing themselves. It'll be interesting to see with the Hawks. Like I'll have to definitely watch in game 3 and see who Trae Young is on primarily defensively. Like who is he guarding through most possessions? Because
Yeah.
Drew Holiday is so much bigger and more physical than he is. So if Drew Holiday really can do whatever he wants, just because of Trae Young, he can fight as all he wants, but he's just not big enough to deal with Drew.
Yeah.
So then you can't put him on Chris Middleton and you can't put him on Giannis, obviously. So it's like
Yeah.
if he's just stuck on Drew, it's on Drew to be able to capitalize on that matchup.
Yeah.
And like you said, Chris Middleton has to be more consistent. Uh, he had 15 points in both games, but in game 2, he took 10 less shots
Yeah.
to get that. So it's up to him to be efficient. But I mean, he's due for a Chris Middleton game. He has plenty of games where he only has 14, 15 points, but that 35 is probably coming. So Atlanta has to kind of hope that comes alongside a big Trae Young game in order for them to hang.